I guess you could say we spent about a year and a half really struggling, not knowing what to do or trying to do everything out of self, and that didn't work too well. And I understood what dying to self meant, but doing that with your child's a different thing versus doing it with yourself. But we love Forrest so much, well, it was just a blessing. This place has been a blessing. And I see my child again because he's a great kid, and I've always known that. But in Austin, where we live, I guess just the things of the world can get in the way and can make you take a wider road than the narrow road that you've been taught to stay on. But through people like Bobby and Jerry, who I just know are our miracles and our gifts in our family, and Ashton, it was, I'm sure, a divine thing that I got to talk to a sweet girl from Texas that had been through the program and talked me through it when I was scared to death, not knowing if I was doing the right thing, and not knowing if I could get my husband to go along with what I thought was the right thing. And she told me just to pray that if it was God's will, that he would do it, that he would change my husband's heart and convince him that this was the right move, and if not, to let it go. And a few things happened. I think it could maybe be called sign language, shooting the bird, one Saturday morning, and all of a sudden my husband was on board and thought, it was a little personal. But anyway, that's what God used, was a bird and a motorcycle. And all of a sudden my husband, who's the head of our household, was totally on board. And we were able to send him here. And it's been a huge gift because I see my son again, and I see his clear eyes and the sweet, loving man he has always been, kind of come back out away from the sins of the world and the opportunities that the world, he's changed. He's done a 180 because God has used people like Bobby and Jerry and so many others to show him a better way. And he's had so much to respect in somebody like Bobby. Bobby's an entrepreneur, and there's so many things that God has gifted him. We were just talking about Bobby outside, and I said, it's not just that Bobby's smart. God's blessed him. God made him to do the things he does. And God didn't have him go through the youthfulness that he went through to not use it. He uses it. It was on purpose. God allowed it, but he allowed it for his greater good. And it's like his whole life is a testimony to that. And instead of ignoring that and just going off to make millions in New York City or something, he's answers the call of God and stays and tends to his sheep. And I'll forever be grateful that you set aside the more worldly pursuits that you could do, and instead take care of young men like my son. And Jerry comes out here and thinks he's going to retire. And my son eats a lot. Jerry is not retired. He's all of a sudden taken over my job, and just a huge blessing. And he's told us great jokes, and he got my husband all fired up and feeling good and feeling like my son was in great hands. We know our son is in the Lord's hands here, and we just will forever be grateful. It's changed our whole family, and I'm thankful.